The newly elected sheriff here in York County, Tony Breeden, joins us on Palmetto Mornings. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Sheriff-Elect.
Yep.
That's
right.
it.
Sheriff-Elect.
Thanks
That's
y'all
right.
for having me.
You got nearly 52% of the vote overnight, defeating Michael Bel for the office of York County Sheriff. Take us through the last 24 hours.
Well, I mean, we just the funny thing is like if you've never really gone through it, it's just that campaign was a whirlwind because it was a short campaign and everybody was kind of just thrust into it. So it was, up until then was a lot of stress. But yesterday, I just didn't have any yesterday because at that point it was over. We had done everything we could. And, we said from day one that we really believed that if God wanted me to be the sheriff, I would. So on the primary night and yesterday, since this started, those were the only 2 days I was at peace since this whole thing started, and it was just – so yesterday, now Brooke was pretty nervous. She was pretty tore up, and a lot of other people were. And, and as it went on, and then people are constantly coming up and showing you the numbers, and then you can't help but just start to wonder where they're going to come from and this, and you see it, but you're still like, it's going to be okay. But it was just – there's really no description, man. And my phone died last night. I haven't even had a chance to put a post out about it yet. It's just been that crazy, and I can't keep up with telling everybody thank you. And it's just, I'll tell you it more than stressful. You have no idea how humbling it is when you see that many people believe in you, and that many people that just 8 weeks ago, some didn't know who you were. A lot of people did, but some didn't. And for them to come out twice and do what they did is – humbling is way more than stressed, and it was just, and I'm still, I just can't describe how appreciative I am of the citizens of the county to give us this opportunity.
What is or was your message, and why do you think that resonated with voters in York County?
I think that from our very first day, we were constantly we and us and the people. And it was never about me. It was never I or anything like that. And it was just, and I've never said, look, I'd like to have your vote. I'd like to have this job. I just really said, I would like to have an opportunity to serve. I've served since I got out of high school and went in the Marine Corps. I've served. And that's how I've seen it. And I just really asked for that opportunity to serve the county. And I think also that people believe that, we're at a crossroads right now. There's a lot of potential crime and a lot of things going on, and we made it clear that we would fight crime, that we would protect the citizens and their family, and we were just absolutely unapologetic about it, and that crime fighting, I think, is the number one role of a sheriff. I think it's a lawman. Nobody ever said it was an administrator or somebody that just wears a suit and sits, I don't believe that. So, and I think that resonated with people.
You'll take over in January of 2025, you'll be sworn in. When there's someone new in a power position, people are always curious and wondering what's the office going to look like? What did the departments look like within the office? What kind of insight can you give those in York County?
Well, I think one of the things that we talked about this really from the start is that, a lot of times when there's an election or somebody that's taken over a sheriff's office, sometimes there's a turmoil, there's something like this, but we were all very fortunate that we're going to be following Sheriff Tolson, who has a incredibly good sheriff's office. And it's the men and women of the sheriff's office that have carried that water and done everything. So I think that, one, you have the fortune of going into already an incredibly professional agency, and you have people up there that are completely dedicated, and, and to me, one of the things that I've talked about, and so many people are, what are your top three? What's your top? Well, I'm not going to do anything but try and let them know that I'm just trying to become a member of the sheriff's office. And, you can't really do anything until they see that and believe it. And there's a lot of people that have worked with me and worked alongside me, and that, especially that used to work there, that are sheriff's office now, that know the type of leader I am and the type of person I am. So there's a lot of people that already kind of know that. And plus, some of those guys up there, I have relationships with them from the 30 years that we've worked together on various units and things like that. So it's not, it's not like I didn't move here from Alaska and get sheriff. So I know a lot of people over there, and and I kind of understand that. So, but really the big thing is to just go in there and, acclimate myself to the place and become a member of the sheriff's office, and us all continue to work towards the goals that the people in this county need.
What will your next 6 months look like until you do get sworn in? So do you go up there? Like, do you pop it? Like, what does that look like?
That's the only thing that I don't know.
Okay.
I don't, because, I've reached out, some people up there have reached out to me, but ultimately, it's still Sheriff Tolson's sheriff's office. So, I haven't spoken to him yet. And, I would like to, of course, you'd like to get to where you'd like to at least start meeting people and doing things prior to January. That way you're already kind of ahead of things. But, they'll determine that. And I know that as professional as he is, he wants a good transition. So, I'm sure at some point him and his staff, we can reach out and see how that would look like. And, I know that I'm fixing to get in my camper and go somewhere for a while and not talk to anybody for a little bit. I do know that. I don't know about the whole next 6 months, but nobody's getting ready to see me for about 2 weeks.
Well, that's why they say politics is a blood sport, for sure.
Right.
We're speaking with newly Sheriff-Elect Tony Breeden, who got nearly 52% of the votes Tuesday in a runoff, defeating Michael Bel for the office of York County Sheriff. Sheriff-Elect, when you run for an office, right, you show up at a lot of events, you participate in forums, and of course you sprinkle in social media. People will start to get a sense of who you are, and some of it is probably accurate. A lot of it's probably misinformation. Moving forward, tell our listeners and our audience what kind of sheriff you will be, and if you want to clear up some misconceptions, you can. But I know that's opening up a box of worms there. But just what do you want the folks to know who either know you or don't know you, that you're going to be in a position of all of law enforcement in York County?
Well, one of the things is that, one of the things that I never had to say when I was running was that I was going to be the sheriff for all people. Because I think if people don't already know that, then if you're just qualifying it, I've known that, and everybody that's known me from my time in my community service, there's been people that have said that, I've been running for sheriff for 30 years and just didn't know it. And it's just because of coaching kids, mentoring kids, and Special Olympics, Miracle Park. I've always been active in being out there for everybody. And, so it's not like, that's the first thing. And one of the things that in clearing up misconception, the thing that we realize that this teaches you is that Facebook's not the real world. You know what I'm saying? It's not the real world. And, and another thing I'm not going to defend myself against things that aren't true. And I'm not going to defend myself against things that just because somebody has a burr in their saddle about something, I'm not going to. I am who I am. And I've answered some of the most insanely tough questions face to face with people that wanted to ask me things, and I answered every one of them. I did. I'll answer any person, any question, but I'm not to somebody that is sitting at their house on a keyboard demanding something to me. I'm just not. But I think the thing about me is that, I even said it last night, and some of the people that I know specifically that were some of the ugliest things, there was never an in-your-face moment. It's never like that. I just want to unify and make sure that everybody in this county is working to keep everybody safe. That's all I care about. It's all I talked about. And things that happened the past 9 weeks are completely irrelevant right now. They are. Nothing matters except moving forward. And I really want to work with all the other cities and agencies in the county, the task force that we have, the everything that we have multi-jurisdictional. Also want to work with all the councils that I can to make sure that we're providing them what we need. And, that's not going to be hard for me because there's a lot of people that really know who I am. And, and I don't have to, I'm not on some whirlwind rebuilding my reputation tour either, because my reputation, I'm satisfied and pleased with who I am and what I've done. And, and I just think that's, in the people that saw me, and you're right, when you see people, I think they saw a sincerity. I think they saw somebody that was genuine about it being about them and about us, and and looking forward to just serving this county. And, you know, one of the things that Kevin told me early on is that all he cared about was his people. Well, if you ask anybody that's ever worked with me, that's all I care about is our people. And, you know, nothing matters more than that. So, and, you know, so that's, you know, that transition and that part is not hard. And you know, and I, you know, so to me, none of the stuff that was, is that some people have said this was a spirited campaign. I was like, that's a word. If that's what you want to use, that's fine. But, you know, we're over it. We're past it. And some people have said, you're going to love this whole, and I'm telling you, I didn't. But you know, I will tell you this, and real quick, that one of the things that we learned, and I talked to so many people, and going through it, this is why good people don't step up and try and run for things, because they're so scared of what's going to happen to them. Well, if everybody keeps that mentality, we will not have good people on school boards, on councils, and things like that. And I encourage everybody, if you're feeling led to do it, do it. You know, because they can't break you. You know, and what does it matter? You know, if everybody will just lead and take that opportunity. And early on, I told everybody, I said, you know what they're going to do, shave my head and send me to Okinawa? The government's already done that once. They can't do it again. So I wasn't worried about it.
What do you want to say to Michael Bel? Have you had a conversation with him and his supporters?
I talked to Mike last night. And, you know, like I said, I have not even been on social media. And, you know, one of the things that Mike and I talked about, you know, when this thing first started was, and he called me and he was like, man, this might come down to you and me. And he was right. And, you know, that I've known Mike for 30 years. So, you know, and there were some things that were said about Mike that I didn't like. You know, there were some things that were said about him and some of his people that what people need to understand is not everything that you see comes from us or comes from him. You know, so we realized that, you know, and his supporters and most of his supporters know me. And if you peel back the emotion and peel back the part about that you really wanted it to be your guy, you still will feel good about the fact that I'll still be leading the sheriff's office the same way he would, and maybe a little bit differently, but still with focus on the people and everybody else. So I talked to Mike last night, and, you know, and everybody has this, when this goes on, everybody just thinks that these are two people that are at odds, and it's just not the case. I mean, and, you know, and a lot of Mike's supporters I work with. So, you know, and that's why you can't focus on some lunatics that have nothing else to do but type, you know, because they're just, those people they're not going to have any control over us. They're just not. So.
Well, we've enjoyed getting to know York County Sheriff-Elect Tony Breeden, who will take over as the Sheriff of York County when he is sworn in January of 2025.